Hello everyone, welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today we're going to be talking about some NBA DFS picks on both DraftKings and FanDuel. But before we get started, we're going to take a quick look back at yesterday's picks, see how they kind of turned out. So on the DraftKings side, very good day overall. Point guard position, this was for the updated lineup that I did post out yesterday. Obviously, there was a lot of moving pieces with the Bucks news yesterday, so if you got your hand in that Bucks bucket, you did pretty well. So we'll start off with that point guard position. Russell Westbrook, $11,000, looking for 55 points out of him. Got to 59.75, so he was definitely a hit. Shooting guard position, we went with Sam Merrill, $3,000, looking for about 15 points out of him. Getting some upside of 20 or more. Got to 24.75, so he was a hit. Tim Hardaway Jr., he was $5,500, looking for about 28 points out of him. Got to 43.25, so he was definitely a hit. Then power forward, we went with Kelly Olynyk, $3,500, looking for 18 points out of him. This was after the Christian Wood news, so just keep that in mind. Kelly Olynyk got 34.5 points, so almost 10 times the multiplier there, so he was a big hit as well. Then last but not least, Richaun Holmes, who I did like earlier on in the day, was kind of projecting him for about 38 points. Thought he had a chance to get over 40, with Jared Allen being out. That didn't quite end up happening, but he still hit that 5 times value, so he was a hit as well. FanDuel side, not quite as nice. So we had John Wall, $8,200, looking for 41 points out of him. He got to 39.6 points, so he was a miss. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, $5,300, looking for about 26, 27 points out of him. Got to 30.5, so he was a hit. RJ Barrett, $7,600. I believe he got to 37.9 points, so he was actually a push, right about that hit range. He was 0.1 points under that, so you could still consider him a hit if you want to. Then Jason Tatum, $8,500, looking for about 43, 44 points on him. Got to 39.5, so he was a miss. Last but not least, Robert Williams, $5,600, looking for 28 points out of him. Got to 39.8, so he's definitely a big hit as well. But that's a quick little rundown for yesterday's picks. We'll get over to today's games and kind of talk about the injuries at play. So Portland Trailblazers, it's just Zach Collins and Nazir Little out. Dame Lillard is back today, so can't really go back to the CJ McCollum tree as easily today. You still could do it if you want to on that 3-game slate, just be a little bit different. The Raptors are without Bembry, McCaw, and Paul Watson. Not too worried about any of those guys really, so pretty standard lineup for them. We'll see if Gary Trent starts once again. Then the Atlanta Hawks are without Chris Dunn, Cam Reddish, Lou Williams. DeAndre Hunter is also a game-time decision. We'll see if he ends up playing. But, last time we did see Bogdanovic in that starting lineup. We'll see if he starts once again. If he does start this time, I do like him a lot today. Then we move over to the Denver Nuggets. Monty Morris is still out. Whittington is a game-time decision. Look like he is unlikely to play. Then the new guys, Gary Clark, JaVale McGee, and Aaron Gordon, all game-time decisions. So we'll see if they end up playing or not. Aaron Gordon's really the major factor here because I think if he starts, it really just changes this lineup and their value around quite a bit, honestly. I think Paul Millsap's a decent play if Aaron Gordon doesn't play because he's been playing pretty well lately. Then we finish it off with the final game of the night, and that's the Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Magic, they are what they are. Last time out, they did not field a very competitive NBA team, but they were great for DFS because they had a ton of value. We'll see who ends up playing for them today. Cole Anthony, Gary Harris both still out. Terrence Ross, Otto Porter Jr., RJ Hampton, and Wendell Carter Jr. all game-time decisions. We'll see who ends up playing. We'll see who ends up in that starting lineup. And that's probably honestly going to be a lot of value on this slate. But the worst news is this is the game that's the last game. It's after all the other ones. So hopefully we get a little bit of news earlier on in the day so we know going into lock what the Magic line is going to look like. Then for the Lakers, pretty much the same guys that have been out for a while now. Anthony Davis, Jared Dudley, and LeBron James. So no major changes there. But that's a quick little rundown for today's slate and the injuries. We'll go over to DraftKings and talk about my picks over there. So I'm going to start off with the point guard position, Trae Young. $8,900, looking for about 45 points out of him. It's an okay matchup against Denver. Not the best, not the worst. But, Trae Young has been playing decent lately. So for this price tag, you're looking for 45 points out of him, averaging about 47 on the season. Definitely can't go too wrong there today, looking like a decent play. Then we move on to Bogdanovic. $4,900, a little bit of price up spot for him, looking for about 25 points out of him, averaging about 20 on the season. But if he's in that starting lineup again, if he's getting the minutes, I think he's definitely a guy that can produce today. Then we move over to small forward. I'm going with Will Barton. $5,800, looking for about 29 points out of him. Been playing pretty well recently. Small forward's not too appealing today, so I think he's a guy that probably won't hurt you too much. But if Aaron Gordon ends up starting, maybe we change off of him and switch to somebody else. Then power forward, I'm going with Kem Birch once again. He was a big hit the last time out. $5,000, you're looking for 25 points out of him. If he ends up starting at that center position again, I definitely think he can pay off. But if Wendell Carter Jr. is active and starting, it's a whole nother story. So a lot of these picks could change going into lock. Just keep an eye out on that. And then last but not least, we're going to go with the best player on the slate by far, and that's Nikola Jokic. $10,400, looking for 52 points out of him, averaging almost 60 on the season. Goes against Atlanta. It's not a good matchup against Clint Capella, but it's Nikola Jokic. It really doesn't matter that much, especially on a short slate like today. You want to find a way to get to him, especially on the DraftKings side. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 guys over on DraftKings, you'll have $15,000 left over, $5,000 per player. Typically, I like to give you guys some cheaper guys to kind of have some more money to spend when you go in and you make your decisions. However, it's a 3-game slate. There's not a lot of value out there. So today I really just tried to pick the guys that, seem like the best values at this point in time. But definitely some room to kind of play around a little bit. Maybe more of a balanced build type of day. Then we'll move over to FanDuel and talk about my picks over there as well. We'll start off with point guard Kyle Lowry, $6,600, looking for 33 points out of him. Averaging almost 36 on the season, goes against Portland. Pretty good matchup for him in terms of, Portland's defense is not the greatest. So it's definitely a spot where he could pay off today. Then at shooting guard, I went with his teammate, Fred VanVleet. And I know it's kind of counterproductive to play both these guys together. But hey, maybe that gives you a little bit of advantage today that other people aren't doing. Maybe, both these guys can have a decent game. Between their two salaries, you're looking for about 78 points between the two of them. I definitely don't think that's out of reach when you look at what they've been averaging on the season. They've been averaging about 75. So if they can get you about 75 today between those two guys, you'll be doing pretty well. But Fred VanVleet, kind of like him for the same reasons as Kyle Lowry. And then even if you put them together, even if one of them has a little bit worse game, then the other one might have a bump-up game, and it kind of might average itself out as well. So typically I don't like to pair those two together on a normal slate, but on a 3-game slate, I definitely do not have a problem with it. Then at small forward, I got Bogdanović. $4,200, looking for 21 points out of him, averaging about 19 on the season. Like I said on the DraftKings side, in the starting lineup the last time out, playing more minutes. If he does that once again, definitely should be a pretty easy play here today. Then we move down to power forward, and honestly, it's kind of yucky. The only guy that projected halfway decent for me today was Markieff Morris. $4,400, looking for about 22 points out of him. I think he definitely gives you the upside of 20 to 24 points in this game. Goes against Orlando, so it's a very good matchup as well. If he plays the minutes that he's played like the last time out, and I think 4 out of the last 5 times he's played decent minutes. So if he can get that once again, he's definitely in play for today. Then at center, I went with his teammate Montrezl Harrell. $7,200, looking for 36 points out of him. Goes against that same good Orlando matchup in this game. I think it's definitely a game that he could dominate as long as it doesn't turn into a blowout. But at the same time, there is a little bit of downside for him with Marc Gasol and Markieff Morris also in the mix. But I still like Montrezl Harrell a lot today. You could also go up to Nikola Jokic if you want to. He's a little bit more pricey on the FanDuel side. He's $11,300, so I think at that price point, he's not the greatest option, but in terms of raw points, he's still a very good option. But if you go with these 5 guys over on FanDuel, you have $30,200 left over, just over $7,500 per player, so definitely a little bit of room to spend up for some guys. Maybe you want to play a Damian Lillard, a CJ McCollum, a Trae Young. Definitely room to do that. You can also mess around with Nikola Jokic, like I already said, if you want to play him over Montrezl Harrell. Just eats into a little bit of your salary. Just, on today's slate, it's really a slate where you want to kind of mess around for a little bit. Take, that half hour out of your day, just kind of build a couple different lineups, see which one you like best, and then kind of go from there. And, it's probably going to be a day where we're going to get some news that's going to create some value. Hopefully that's the case. Otherwise, this is pretty much what we're looking at. And then, as always, I'll be listing all the news as it comes out throughout the day, and as well as the starting lineups. And with that being said, if you guys have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask. Definitely here to help you out the best that I can. And if you guys are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Definitely helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. That's really one for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS, whether it's NBA or NFL, helping you with your fantasy football teams, covering all the different football news, and then going to be talking some fantasy baseball and some baseball news as well as we head into that baseball season for 2021. But with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, I post daily NBA DFS videos like this, as well as some of that fantasy football and fantasy baseball content coming out in the coming days as well. But with that being said, that's really all I have for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Hopefully you all do very well in NBA DFS tonight. And as always, if you guys have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask. Definitely here to help you guys out the best that I can. And then last but not least, special little shout out to each and every one of you watching this video. I really do truly appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. And I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.